Okay, so today's episode is going to be us focusing on how embracing your sensuality actually helps you unleash your magic. Is this platform, is this show not called Unleashing Your Alchemy? So you may be saying, well, what does sensuality have to do with programming and religious programming? It has everything to do with it. So let's just get right into today's episode. So I want you to know this. With religious programming and really programming in general, you were taught, you were told, you were led to believe that the idea of divinity or the idea that there is some higher power out there, you were led to believe that you were not connected to it. You were led to believe that it was something out there that you had to go and get. That it was something out there that you had to do all of these things to prove that you were worthy of having some type of connection with. When the truth of the matter is this, the divinity that you were told to look for out there is within your body. That divinity that was supposed to be out there, that you were supposed to prove yourself that you were worthy of connection with, that divinity is you. And what does this have to do with you connecting with your sensuality? Let's go further. So here's the thing. Sensuality grounds you in your body. Now, if you listen to the previous episode that I did about sensuality on Friday. And before I go further into this episode, let me say this. If you are new to this channel, whether you're watching or you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, I have a segment that I started last week where I'm doing every single Friday. I am focusing on how religious programming has affected your sensuality and what that sensuality has to do with you unleashing your magic, you unleashing your alchemy, and you living your life to the fullest. All right. And I've dedicated that to Friday for a very specific reason, which we'll get into on another episode. Okay. So let's reel it back. So sensuality grounds you in your body, all right? It is important to know this because you cannot think your way into magic. Into your magic. You have to feel your way into it, okay? Because in your body is where the alchemy and the magic begins, okay? So, what is this magic that I'm talking about? This magic that I'm speaking about, it encompasses your own spiritual technology, including the spiritual technology that religion told you to run away from, including the spiritual technology that religion said was evil and demonic and satanic, all of those fancy words, okay? Your magic encompasses the spiritual technology that is already in your DNA. Your magic that I'm speaking about encompasses the highest expression of your soul, the highest expression of your genius, the highest expression of your divinity, the expression of your divinity, who you came here to be, to embody. Right? And I know we hear that word embodiment, and there's not enough focus on what it really means. We'll talk about that in another episode. Okay, so let's keep going. So you have to understand this. Living on this physical plane, if you don't understand it already, we have so much that comes at us, okay? So many things that get put in our face. So many things, or so many times, people are telling us, well, you got to pay attention to this. You got to pay attention to this. And that's excluding the marketing and advertisements that we see. And so with all of these things competing for our attention, competing for our brain energy. The way to transcend that, all of those factors, is through your body. Okay? So let's go back to sensuality. Think of your sensuality as your body language. Think of your sensuality as the language of your body. So, you experience sensuality every time you taste something, every time you drink something, every time you eat something, every time you speak. You are experiencing your own sensuality. You experience your sensuality when you touch something, whether you're touching an object, whether it's fabric, whether it's something that you're picking up to buy, whether you're hugging someone that you love. That is you experiencing sensuality. Okay? You experience sensuality when you smell something, good or funky. You are experiencing sensuality because that is a sense. Your smell is a sense. It is communication. It is a language, all right? You experience sensuality when you are listening to something, especially when you're listening to music, which is why frequency is so important. It's so very important, okay, to pay attention to, all right? So, you also experience sensuality when you are moving your body. With each step that you take when you work out, you're experiencing sensuality. Especially if you're a dancer and you're watching or listening to this, you already know you have some, I feel like artists, specifically dancers, when I talk about movement and experiencing sensuality in your movement, you especially know what I'm talking about. All right. So, in order to equate your senses to sensuality in the way that we just talked about, it requires you to pay attention to your body. So, previously I mentioned how reconnecting with your magic is not done in your mind. Because of the many factors in life that are competing for your brain energy, that are competing for you to think about. So you have a million things coming at you every day saying, hey, think about me, think about me, think about this, think about that. So the focus then for you is not to quiet your mind or try to shut down all those influences. The focus is to feel into your body, to first notice your sensations. You have to start with your body first, then the mind. Why am I telling you this? And what does this have to do with religious programming? Because religious programming demonizes sensuality. Religious programming demonizes your feelings and your emotions. Religious programming demonizes your flesh. What do you hear about the flesh? That you have to kill the flesh, that the flesh can't be trusted. And if you have certain desires, then that is of the devil. Okay? So you have to understand how when you hear that, or when you have heard that over and over and over again, that slowly takes away from your connection to your own self. So then religion, after getting all those stories in your mind about how you can't trust your body and you can't trust your sensations and you can't trust your desires, that is what plays out in your mind over and over and over again. So religion attacks the mind first, and then once it attacks the mind, it has everything else. So this is why it's important to be reconnected with your body again. You want to talk about deconstruction? These are the conversations that are missing from the conversations about religious deconstruction. Because when you talk about the body, we're talking about identity, which is important for you to embrace your sovereign identity once again, right? So, in order to, let me go back to make sure I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure I stay on track. So, the focus that you need to have is to feel into your body, to make notice of your sensations. Okay. How do you do that? You have to make it a practice. Now I'm going to say something it's not new. It's something you've heard before. But I want you to think about it this time. To do that, to notice your sensations, you have to make it a practice to stay in the present. You have to make it a practice to stay in the present. You have to make it a practice to stay in the right now. Again, not a new concept, yet you still underestimate the present of being right now because that is a centering practice. All right. Listen to what I'm about to say. In your presence and being in the present, you'll begin to notice that your senses are intertwined with your intuition. Think about what intuition is. Internal tuition. What does tuition have to do with? Education, wisdom, knowledge. So put it together. Your senses are intertwined with your inner intuition, meaning your senses are intertwined with your inner wisdom that you already have, your inner knowledge, your inner education. That's all a part of your magic because you already have it. It's already in your DNA. Okay? So, I want to tell you this as well. You are programmed to always jump to the next thing or the next task, that you miss the guidance from your own body in the moment. Okay? So, to become rooted in your body, that leads to you becoming more rooted in your senses. Then you become more rooted in your sensuality. To be rooted in your sensuality, you become more rooted in yourself. So you see how this is the loop that you actually want to be in. All of that. So when you're finally rooted in yourself, then that leads to increased self-expression, which I'll get into more in depth on another episode on this same topic. But I want you to remember this. The more present that you are, the more connected that you are with your body. And when this happens, then your desires and those emotions that were buried by programming, those come to the surface. They rise to the level of acknowledgement so that you can acknowledge them. So, the next time, for example, you feel yourself anxious to get to the next thing, the next 2 hours, the next 5 hours, the next day, or you're thinking about what you have to do while you're eating, I want you to ask yourself, where the anxiousness is showing up in your body. That's the first question. Then the next question to ask yourself is, what is that anxiousness showing you about what you want? When you acknowledge what you want, here we are getting back into desire and pleasure, which is tied into sensuality. Okay? That's the second question. Third question that you can ask yourself is, how can you use anxiousness in the moment to breathe into and embrace what you desire? This is where we get into alchemy. This is part of you unleashing your magic. All right? So I want you to take those 3 questions. Just take time to answer them. Gift yourself the moments to answer it. You can even turn it into a whole self-love ritual. You can create a love bath where you can take time, light some candles, have some aromatherapy going, and answer those questions journal style. However you want to do that. You could answer it while you're going for a walk. Whatever environment feels good to you to take time to answer these questions, do that. All right. So don't forget, one-on-one, you can work with me for support in you embracing your sovereignty and embracing your magic in its fullness and with confidence and with power. All right. Go to unleashedalchemy.com to check out my one-to-one coaching package. I also have courses. I have ebooks that are also transformative tools that you can add to your spiritual bag. All right. Until next time, be sovereign.